Morning. So, gentlemen, I will introduce you individually in sequence.
Of course. For day three on a Friday, not so bad.
Yeah. Problem is there are too many stages here. You should just have one.
It echoes, doesn't it? You can't. When they speak loud, I couldn't hear when I sat here on Wednesday. I couldn't hear what he was saying, so I didn't know what question he was asking me. All right.
Time to start.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jenkins of Charles Kendall in London, and I would like to thank the organisers for the kind invitation to be part of this exciting panel discussing Brexit and what does it mean for our logistics sector. My colleagues are an eclectic cross-section of the European logistics community, and I am flattered to be on the same panel as Peter Harach.
Good morning to everybody. I'm representing domestic logistics, Zväz, and I'm customs manager of this company.
Thank you, Peter. Arne Mielken.
Well, good morning. My name is Arne Mielken. I'm from customsmanager.org, and we have been in customs and global trade for a long time. I myself am what is known as a customs geek, so I help importers and exporters to get past this newly established border that we have created here in the UK. We are so used to the single market, aren't we? We're used to just go. And now all of a sudden you put this friction in my way and you say I can't go anymore. So I've been working with the European Commission on customs and global trade matters since 2005, back then with AEO, and worked then in consultancy for a long time, helping clients to optimize their supply chain. And now, since we founded Customs Manager, we help small and medium and large size companies to get Brexit ready if you're not already 10 months in, and see beyond Brexit what the opportunities are for global trade. So it's all about geeky customs and global trade subjects, and it's making sure that we make the border disappear, and ultimately that allows us to reach our customers faster, which is what we all share, but also to cut the paperwork. It helps us to be compliant and, of course, grow globally. So, in a nutshell, that's us. Excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
And last but not least, we have Justin Atkin from the Port of Antwerp. Sir.
Thank you. Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Justin Atkin. If I may, I'd like just to take a few minutes to show you a very brief presentation. So, as you can see from the ensemble of individuals, I'm the representative for the Port of Antwerp. My region is the UK and Ireland. And of course, as a former member of the European Union, I'm here to give a different perspective on Brexit. We actually have a network of representatives around the world. several of my colleagues for Austria and Hungary, Slovakia and Czech, and also my colleague Carla from the Port of Antwerp in Belgium are here in the audience today. And as I say, we have representatives in our major markets around the globe in pretty much all of the continents. So the Port of Antwerp is, as the heading says, a truly global port. In fact, we're 14th largest port in the world by cargo volume, and the second largest European port in one of the most beautiful cultural cities in Europe. So a few headline figures about the Port of Antwerp. Our port estate is extensive, with over 12,000 hectares. For you, those of you who've been fortunate enough to go to Manhattan, that is actually twice the size of Manhattan. We have over 1,000 companies resident on the port, and therefore one of the region's largest employers. More than 140,000 people are employed on the Port of Antwerp in logistics and supply chain, and also in manufacturing. My colleague Martin Huber mentioned yesterday, we are the largest chemical cluster in Europe and the second largest in the world behind Houston. So with all of those numbers, you cannot help but believe that we're also a very important financial generator for Belgium. Almost 5% of Belgium GDP is developed on our port estate, and we're handling, perhaps this year, if things go well, up to 240 million tonnes. So despite the blip of 2020, we've actually experienced many years of continued sustainable growth, and that is actually one of the keystones of the port's strategy, is sustainable growth, long-term growth. And as I've mentioned there, this year, taking aside the blip of 2020 and all of the issues that were created globally, we're hoping for another record year. And the message is cargo is king. Actually, we're handling at the Port of Antwerp almost every commodity that you can think of. Whilst we're not the largest port in Europe, we are certainly, we like to think we are specialists in certain commodities. So, for example, we are the largest coffee handling port in Europe, and also for cocoa. We have a very proud tradition of handling break bulks. Particularly with steel, and I know that steel is a very important commodity here for Slovakia. We're handling polymers. You can see automotive, another important sector for Slovakia, and I think also our real success story has been with containers. So we're handling around 12 million TEU of containers each year. I think one of the other advantages of the Port of Antwerp is we have a very balanced portfolio of imports and exports. And for anyone working in the sector, you will understand that for everything coming in, it is advantageous for something going out. So whether that is a truck, a barge, a train, or a vessel. So it's a pretty even split of imports and exports. You can see on the slide our main markets, perhaps unsurprisingly the US and China. Perhaps one of the reasons why I'm sitting here is United Kingdom and Ireland is also one of our top five markets. But how do you handle 240 million tonnes? Well, you have to have the infrastructure, and I think the Port of Antwerp, we are a community builder. And we work very closely with our stakeholders and very closely with the 1,000 members of our port community. We provide facilities, and again, I won't talk through them all, but you can see from the graphic, to handle 240 million tonnes, you have to have the infrastructure in place, and also the added value services. The other important thing is connectivity. We have connections in Antwerp to more than 1,000 ports globally. We're also at the centre of a massive, or the main huge consumer market in Europe. So you can see there, again, from the slides, within 48 hours travelling time of a significant part of the European market. We're at the centre of the so-called blue banana, so very centrally located for the main European industrial market. Also, importantly, we have a very smart multimodal network. So infrastructure is one thing, connectivity is certainly another advantage of the Port of Antwerp. So here you can see on this slide, we have a very extended European barge offering, more than 1,000 barge calls in the port every week, reaching 7 countries and 90 European destinations. And similarly, we have a very strong European rail network, more than 220 direct shuttle services each week. And this is actually something that our team is working very hard to grow and to expand. We want to connect Antwerp with even more destinations in Europe, and in particularly in this part of Europe. Short sea, we see as an extra multimodal alternative. You can see here we have significant number of short sea services, more than 150, reaching all of the main European markets, Scandinavia, Iberia, and UK and Ireland, which is why I am here. We also have a very fast and efficient import process. I do not class to be an expert. I'm sure there'll be more discussion on the panel, and we certainly have an expert on customs and import processes. But in Antwerp, we try and make it as fast and efficient a process as possible. And then once you actually get your goods to the Port of Antwerp, well, actually we have a significant bonded warehouse complex of more than 6 million square meters of bonded warehousing on the port estate. So that is my introduction. Thank you for the opportunity to show you some slides. I think now we really want to get into the nitty-gritty of the discussion, and I'm going to hand the clicker back to Ian. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. So, Brexit. Brexit is probably the most significant development since the Treaty of Rome within the European Union. We have seen the 5th largest economy of Great Britain decide to leave the European Union. And it is certainly a vexed question and one that has dominated the media since the referendum in the United Kingdom. From a UK perspective, on export, 23% of small medium enterprise exporters have temporarily halted their sales to the European Union. 11% are considering halting sales to the European Union. 11% have established or are considering establishing a presence in the European Union. 9% are considering establishing a warehouse in the European Union. And 4% sadly have stopped selling to the European Union at all. On the British importer side, 70% have suffered shipment delays, 55% have sought professional advice on the new paperwork requirements, 34% have had their goods held indefinitely at a EU border crossing, and 32% have had goods lost in transit. Overall, 21% of businesses that trade with Europe in the UK have had to relocate some of their operations or staff to the European Union. 27% have said that Brexit has caused difficulties in hiring staff. Last week in the United Kingdom, I had the pleasure of having to queue to fill my car with petrol. 66% anticipate that the new UK-EU customs controls would have a negative effect on British trade. In January 2021, 38% of UK importers experienced border delays that worsened to 63% in the following month in February. 47% of UK importers from the EU have seen an increase in customs paperwork or attribute customs paperwork as the main reason for delay. And that suggests all sorts of questions which we will be asking in a few moments about how well prepared were we in the United Kingdom for Brexit, how well prepared was the EU for Brexit, and what contribution or lack of contribution might be attributed to the logistics sector. The British government this week, through the Office of National Statistics, have estimated that British trade in goods to the European Union reduced by £10 billion sterling, or contracted by 13.5%. And the UK exports have reduced up to May of this year by 19% compared to 2 years ago. So that suggests, from a British perspective, some negative effects of Brexit. But Brexit is a very complicated issue. So I would ask my learned colleagues, have you seen negative effects of Brexit or positive effects? Peter, from a Slovakian perspective.
From our perspective and point of view, there is a lot of burdens which brought Brexit. There are trade burdens, restrictions, and a lot of paperwork which are related to the customs formalities. And all those means that we feel lack of capacity in the transport, in the logistics chain, and as the first, we have feel that there is no enough customs brokers on the UK side and on the European side as well. Especially from the beginning, the three first months, we have a lot of problems to do customs formalities on time. It was the main reason why the transport was delayed, and all the trucks were stuck somewhere on the border, or by exporter or by importer, and there was not enough capacity to move the goods from EU to UK and vice versa. So the negatives are very huge. There are some positive effects as well. We have some possibility to grow our business. There is a demand for additional storage capacity. There is a demand for additional, let's say, paperwork related to the movement of the goods. But the negatives are bigger than the positives, from my point of view.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Arne, positives, negatives, what is your perspective?
Well, I work with small, micro, small, medium, and large and complex companies of all sectors. Importers, exporters, and of course logistics operators, freight forwarders, and the likes. And of course, no one problem or opportunity fits all. But overall, the one thing that I have seen is a lot of work. I've been very, very busy solving some very fundamental and complex questions. When before, as I said, you just went, if you didn't take the time to think and analyze your supply chain early enough, you run into trouble. Now the government has put out, and everybody knows this, tons of information. The Belgians have overloaded us with information. The British publish so much news and information. It's a complete overload. Nothing matters if you do not look at your own supply chain. Who are the freight forwarders, the cargo, the logistics providers? How are they prepared? So what we did is we analyzed the supply chain and we worked out where the bottlenecks are. And after 10 months of Brexit, I've seen some companies relatively well prepared with very specialized questions, and some companies that put their head up and go, I don't know what, but my customer is hit with additional duty, with additional delays, and I'm about to lose them if I don't solve it. So the trouble, if you sum it all up, 10 months in, we are not where we need to be. We don't have enough customs knowledge and legislative awareness, neither in the European Union nor in the UK, in order to make this as seamless as possible. So to sum up in a few words, it's delays at the border, as you've said, it's costs. I cannot stress how important this is. The costs are crippling. Just the certificate upload for food products is in the region of millions to billions if you add it all together. If you add labor time, if you add paperwork, the costs are huge in admin and time. And then finally, and that's one of the most important things that we all need to think about, is the customer experience. Either we make the customer's experience like it was before. If we want that, we have to pay. Somebody has to pay. Or we say, I don't care so much about the customer. They can add extra duty. They can do the imports clearance. They can do deal with delays. Then we don't pay. But the idea that we both do not pay, we both do not deal with the customs matters, is not possible. Somebody has to import, somebody has to export, and somebody has to pay for the extra costs. So it's being real with people, it's preparing them by giving them advice and support, and it's dramatically upskilling people in what we need.
Okay, that poses, Arne, a very interesting question about who is going to, a Scottish expression, who is going to pay the piper. And I think it's interesting that inflation in the United Kingdom this month has hit 4%. So would you attribute that increase in inflation in part to Brexit and the fact that these costs are now starting to filter into the supply chain?
Who are you asking me?
Yeah.
Well, if you ask the government of the day, nothing of that sort, of course, is real, right? It's nothing to do with Brexit. But if you think about it, the costs are so significant I look at retail in particular, because I work with a lot of retail clients. The additional import duty cost, the additional need for staff, the additional costs resulting from the driver shortages. What do you think is going to happen? You can add one and one together, you're going to see inflation. I don't like to talk about Switzerland because Switzerland cannot be compared to the UK. But there is a reason why everything's expensive in Switzerland. And it does have to do with the fact that there are customs duties and there is friction in the system. When the European Union and Michel Barnier said there is no win-win situation in Brexit, that's what he meant. And you know that we say in the logistics sector and of course in the consultancy and training sector, yeah, we actually benefit. Let's be real. We have a lot more demand, but that demand comes from people having to pay more. So that our customers in the logistics sector, our importers and exporters, they need to sell more to pay us, to pay for the extra money. And if that is so, what are we doing as the logistics industry, as the consulting and training industry, in order to help our customers grow? Innovative solutions like the Port of Antwerp, for example, or the offer to pick up the phone and discuss what it means to fill out the customs paper. All of that helps for our companies that we serve to grow. If they don't grow, we can't grow.
I think that's a very powerful point. Justin, the Port of Antwerp is busier than ever. European ports are struggling to handle the post-COVID demand, particularly from Asia. What is the Port of Antwerp's perception, positively or negatively, about Brexit, sir?
Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks for the question, and thank you for the positive comments, Arne. If I may, I have the luxury to be able to give a British perspective, but also, so I'm a British citizen. I live in the United Kingdom, but I'm employed by a Belgian port. So I have the situation where I can give quite a wide perspective. So before I answer your question, if I may, I can give you a British perspective.
Please.
So on the advantages of Brexit, Brexit was very much about really 2 or 3 main issues. It was about controlling our sovereignty, and you have to say that we now have control of our sovereignty. It was a protest against uncontrolled immigration, and again, you have to say that we have now the ability to have more control over immigration, although that is starting to cause issues, which we'll no doubt discuss further. And then thirdly, it was about cost. What do we actually get? I think in 2016, the United Kingdom was one of the largest contributors to the European Union. We paid something like £13.1 billion in membership. And in return, we got £4.5 billion of investment. So around £8.5 billion deficit in terms of our contribution to the European Union. So you have to say, in those 3 instances, from a British perspective, we have seen advantages. However, we've also seen significant disadvantages, and particularly around inflation costs, which we've talked about, particularly around shortages of labour. So in September 2021, we had more than 1 million unemployed, I think it's 1.3 million unemployed people in the United Kingdom, and yet we had more than 1 million unfilled vacancies, and a lot of those vacancies were previously filled by European citizens, and that has created a huge vacuum in the British economy. So whilst we do have control over immigration, that has come back and is cutting as a major issue. To answer the second part of the question, what is the Port of Antwerp doing about this? Well, you actually very kindly gave some context of the decline in UK European figures. So bearing in mind this is against a context of declining trade figures, actually in the 8 or 9 months to date, the Port of Antwerp has actually seen an increase in our traffic. So with the United Kingdom, we've seen a 7.2% increase in trade. And actually with the island of Ireland, that is a double-digit increase. It is more than 11% increase on our volumes. So how, against the context of declining trade, is the Port of Antwerp actually seeing positive increases in our numbers? And I say, I've already thanked Arne for his positive comment there. That is because the Port of Antwerp is reaching out to the European community. The United Kingdom is essentially a nation of imports. We import a lot of goods, we export a lot of services, not too many goods, but we're an import nation. We have a deficit of trade, if you like. So as an island nation, we will still need to import goods. What the Port of Antwerp has found is we've found innovative solutions. We've seen a real and marked move from accompanied transport to unaccompanied transport. So less trailers with drivers accompanying across the Dover Straits, for example, more unaccompanied trailers and containers, and of course break bulk cargoes as well. We reached out very, very early, actually after the UK referendum vote in 2016. Within 3 weeks, the Port of Antwerp had established a task force. The Belgians are very pro-European. They didn't like the decision, but they also respected the decision of the British public. And so we started very early on to identify what the roadblocks were going to be and what we needed to do as a port and as a port community to overcome those roadblocks as early as we possibly could.
Justin, the statistics that I shared with everybody at the start, that 11% of British small medium enterprises are looking to establish a presence in the EU, and 9% are looking to establish a warehouse. Do you think that gives Antwerp, with its hinterland and with its geographic position, an opportunity to be that European Union warehousing presence?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, we consider ourselves as the gateway to and from the main European market, but also because of our global connections. We have very strong services, for example, with China and Asia, United States and Canada. So we actually see ourselves as a hub, a destination that shippers can use as a warehousing and logistics provision hub. So I mentioned in the slide over 6 million square meters already of warehousing. But not just warehousing, we're offering added value servicing. So if you're wanting to do packaging, if you're wanting to do sorting, blending, devanning, palletizing, we have a number of steel service centers so that we can prepare steel prior to its final shipment. So very much, that is I would say, one of the advantages of Brexit. Certainly for the Port of Antwerp, we've seen an increase in inquiries of companies that are looking to consolidate in a European hub. And just, if I may, not Brexit, but added to the current container and deep sea shipping crisis, even more important, because of the time it is taking to get goods from Asia and from China. No longer can we rely upon a just-in-time supply chain model. So we're also seeing an influx of inquiries for warehousing for companies that are looking to set up hubs and actually be able to get goods and safely into the EU, so they can then feed it to their European market from there.
Excellent. As regards Brexit and Central Europe,
Yep.
Peter, has that created, do you think, any opportunities for the Central European region?
Of course, there are opportunities. As was mentioned, the UK companies are looking for the subsidiaries in the Central Europe, are looking for the additional storage possibilities in our region. And of course, some producers are willing to move some production from UK to EU in order to be close to their clients and to shorten the delivery time. But yes, the positives are that the opportunities are here. Question is how much it will cost and if it will be profitable for both sides.
Okay, is there any particular industrial sector where that demand is more acute?
Yes, it is especially car makers who are looking for, or suppliers of car makers who are looking for such possibilities, because a lot of shipments they do is just in time or just in sequence, and they are not able to do it from UK these days because of the delays on the borders and delays by the customs formalities. So a lot of them are looking for the possibility to either to produce the goods in our region or to have a bigger stock in order to allow this just-in-time supplies.
So that actually strikes a chord with what Justin said a moment ago about just-in-time and shortening the supply chain. And whether it be Central Europe, whether it be North Continent or the UK, we've seen the supply chain from Asia to Europe lengthen from being able to consistently anticipate 32 days from Shanghai. We're now looking at 60 days, 70 days. So do you think that even post-Brexit, gentlemen, the trend might be in the market, in the logistics market, to shorten the supply chain and go local? Do you think there is an opportunity, if Brexit can be smoothed out and can be manageable, that British companies look for suppliers in Central Europe rather than suppliers in Asia. Is this an opportunity, gentlemen, do you think?
I think it is, but the question is how will be the crisis on the sea transport in the future, because we feel that nowadays Chinese are managing all the sea transport and are looking over it. So in such cases, it could be additional business for the Central Europe.
Arne, do you see that the supply chain could shorten, and that, or do you see that rather than buy Asian, a well-managed supply chain from Europe for British importers and exporters could work?
I think I have my doubts, because before, where the border was not there, that would have been the incentive. Yeah. Where we move goods to Slovakia overnight, we just go. Now we have a border that prohibits just-in-time deliveries or quick deliveries. So now the border that we have with the European Union is in fact comparable with the border that we have with China, and vice versa. So there is, I understand the argument about longer delays and impracticability, but the fact that we have a border between our markets now does cause a lot of delays. So I think we do need to be faster with the consumer. The consumer demand, or our customers demand the goods tomorrow. But I think our solution in the UK will have to be a combination of setting up in Europe, having a presence, having a warehouse space, and delivering from that. In other words, we need to get rid of the border. We need to make it as transparent and invisible as possible in order not to have our customers feel the full force. And the way I see it is we need a warehouse space or some place where we store our goods and then we deliver from there, so a hub. So I am a little skeptical about us saying because the movements from China take longer, we're now going to ship everything to, or we're now going to move to a different location in Slovakia or Czechia.
Okay. If I was to play the devil's advocate, the supply chain from Asia is 70 days and importers are paying more than $20,000. So even though the supply chain to Slovakia or to Czechia or to Slovenia, Hungary, is longer than it was before Brexit,
it's still not as long.
It's still cheaper and it's still quicker than 70 days. I must admit that our organisation in London has seen some of our UK customers changing the suppliers to Eastern Europe because they, whilst it's not local, it's quicker than 70 days by ocean.
If you can source the goods.
Justin, are you seeing any evidence of that?
I think my perspective is something that's also, cost has always driven buying decisions, and I think in the last 12 months we've seen other factors, because actually security of supply is, and as consumers, if you want something, at the moment you have to pay for it, and if it's available, you have to pay for it. So I think for such a long time, the supply chain has really driven down on transportation costs, for example, and I think perhaps that's one of the reasons why we're seeing some of the issues, particularly around road haulage prices. But I think the other thing that is driving buying decisions, and it's a combination of consumer choice, but it's also a combination of government legislation that's around decarbonisation and sustainability. So, we all know about the commitments to reaching various climate targets by the different dates that organisations, we talk about 2050, but other organisations are saying that we can do it sooner than that. So I think sustainability in supply chains is also going to be a really important factor. So reducing air freight miles, sea freight miles, road freight miles. So I think that could be one driver that sees an increase in consumerism between the UK and the European market. I think also, from a UK perspective, I already mentioned we have a trade deficit. We even with the restrictions in place, we import more from globally and from the EU than we export. So it's certainly in our interests to find solutions, smooth solutions, but it's also arguably also in the EU's interest as a large market to sell to also arrive at solutions as well. So I think I can see, one of the reasons for, as I say, Brexit from the UK was that we were able to choose our own markets, that we weren't to some degree dictated to. And Boris Johnson and his government have been very busy telling the world that we've reached trade agreements with so many different countries. But I think the European market remains really important to the UK. I think security and the ability to get goods into the shops and through your front door will remain a priority. And I think if that means switching supply chains increasingly into shorter routes, I can see that as being a trend.
So, in essence, even though there's been some negative trade figures, the shortening of the potential to shorten the supply chain could restore some of that imbalance. Do you think, gentlemen? Arne?
Well, I think we need to collaborate and we need to cooperate and we need to grow our business with the European market. What I've said always, there are, as in a way, as Justin also say, this is an unprecedented situation. We have had a combination of COVID and Brexit, which is, as you have said, Ian, the biggest disruption or change in our trading relationship for decades. So if you put all of this together, no wonder that you see a dip. How much that is Brexit related, certainly some is, but in the future, as you have said, and as everybody has said, the European market remains essential. Without the European market, we can't operate in the UK and feed our nation and keep the standard of living that we have. So we have no choice, Brexit or no Brexit, we will trade and we will trade well. And while the politicians are politicians and need to do what they need to do, we have a job to reach out and be here and say, Britain is open, Britain wants to trade with the world, Britain wants to trade with Europe, and we will do everything we can to facilitate a smooth border, be that through the logistics sector, be that through the customs procedures and the processes. We will get it done. We will get it done as a team, and therefore we will overcome this and grow together.
I think that is an incredibly powerful point. How can, gentlemen, the logistics sector, our industry, how can we be a facilitator to this? What role do we see the logistics industry achieving? What do we see the logistics industry being able to contribute to smooth trade? Peter?
I think our task is to teach the businessmen how to do the business in this situation when there is a customs control or customs supervision over the goods. We have to explain them which Incoterms is good to use in international business and how to speed up the customs formalities and give them some practical solutions. And again, we have to be in touch with them in advance in order to avoid some sudden problems, sudden extra costs, etc.
So we can be the fire brigade?
Yes.
So the question, if the house is on fire and we are the fire brigade, looking at our contribution to Brexit, have our industry contributed enough? Were industry ready? Was the logistics industry ready?
Maybe the logistic industry was prepared, but we felt that a lot of producers, business companies were not prepared well, and they suddenly need for the services. And the capacity was not on the market at the time.
So I think, from my perspective, I thought our company was ready. We put a task force together, as did the good folk in the Port of Antwerp. But I don't think the logistics sector was particularly well prepared collectively. Arne, do you think the logistics sector was ready for Brexit?
I think freight forwarders and customs agents were as ready as you could be. Overall, I mean, there are ups and downs, but don't forget, for everyone, it was a Christmas present, right? It is 4 days to prepare for Brexit. What do you want to do? Okay, you can argue with me that you know what is the European Union, leaving the European Union, and we could have done. Fact of the matter is, we need to do this. Now, we can be ready for the logistics sector, but that is not enough. What we now need is to go to our customers and go an extra mile. It is not good enough to say, sort out your customs declaration yourself, just put the commodity code there. No, we need some hand-holding. We need to say, okay, don't worry, we will work it out together. We need to have helplines, but helplines that actually respond, not that give you guidance to a link on a website. We need dramatically upskill not only our people that we have direct responsibility for, but also give a service offering to our customers, importers, exporters, the likes of them. If they don't get it, we can be prepared as we want, we will collectively fail. And that is the big difference that Brexit made. Before, you could be a one-man gang, I will conquer Europe. Now you cannot, because you need, where there is an export, there is an import, and it means you need a team on the other side. And if they mess up, no good preparation helps you. So it's a two-balance game. We need to have the support, we need to train, we need to file at the right time, at the right moment, we need to package and move the goods in the right way, and all of that only works if we talk, collaborate, and train on customs. We all need to be customs geeks.
So you believe that our industry has got a significant role to play?
Essential, if we take it. But it needs to be logistics plus. It needs to be a logistics sector that when I call you guys, being your customer, you say, yeah, we can ship it, just put it there. No. Yes, we can ship it, and please let me schedule a meeting with you or with my customs guru to discuss what you need to give us, what data we need, the declaration code, all rules of origin, the valuation. These are things that you need to make it cross the border. So it's logistics plus we now need to make Brexit a success. And once we do that, and that's the final point, and that's the positive about Brexit, if we level up, excuse the expression, our importers, exporters, logistics, freight forwarders, and agents for real, then not only will we have conquered Europe by trading frictionless, but it's an opportunity for the world. Because when we can deal with Europe and cross the border, we can cross the border anywhere.
So that is an interesting perspective, that if Britain and the EU get Brexit right, that these lessons could be learned and absorbed, and global trade could benefit.
That's the big opportunity. That is how we make global Britain grow and global Europe grow.
So Justin, how do you see the Port of Antwerp being able to contribute positively in that sense?
Yeah. Okay, and thank you for the question. It ties in actually with one through from Slido. It's the first question on there about Port of Antwerp acting as a positive gateway to ease up the actual supply chain issues in the UK. So I can answer your question and that question at the same time, if I may. I already mentioned back in 2016 when the UK voted to leave the EU, we at Port of Antwerp got together. I got a job because I was hired as the representative with the UK. So thank you, UK leavers, for
so that really is a positive.
Yeah, that's it. You know, we really started to look at what the roadblocks could be, what infrastructure was required. So bearing in mind, we are a port authority, we are a landlord, we're a community builder. We don't actually handle any cargo, that is done by our customers. But we engaged with our community very, very early on. We reached out to the shippers and the forwarders. We sent out questionnaires. Our experience was a lot of the larger companies were prepared because they had the resources to hire people. The smaller SMEs, or the companies that were only trading within the EU, not globally, in fairness, they were not prepared at all. And we really had to coach them and encourage them to apply for the EURI numbers, for example. So as a port authority, we felt that we went above and beyond our traditional role to really reach out to our customers' customers. We held roadshows in the UK and in Ireland, again, to sell the same story about the Port of Antwerp to the UK and to Irish forwarders as well. We have invested in infrastructure. So I'm living in the UK. Some of the UK ports still have not completed their border inspection posts. They're still constructing them 9-10 months after we actually left the EU. We are still putting the infrastructure into place. Port of Antwerp, we already had that facility. We improved it. We have a one-stop shop for, we cannot prevent goods being called for inspection, but if they are called for inspection, we can make that process much easier. Everything is done on one site. And for those of you that know the Port of Antwerp, we are on both sides of the River Scheldt, so we have the facilities on both sides of the river. So again, as a port authority, we've made that investment to make the inspections much smoother. And we're really working hard and reaching out. We understand that shorter supply chains are going to help manage the situation. So, for example, in the UK, we are 100,000 truck drivers short. That has been an issue that has probably been ongoing for 10 years. Brexit wasn't the cause, but Brexit certainly added to it. Around 15,000 European drivers left the UK when we left the EU. So it really raised the problem. So we're now having issues with getting fuel to our petrol stations and diesel, goods onto the shelves. And what we're doing at the Port of Antwerp is we're saying, well, why not ship short sea, ship to regional ports in the UK? You know, the Dover Straits will still play a very important part in the UK's logistics supply chain. We're not here to say that you shouldn't go through there. What we are saying is you should consider alternatives as well. So we're trying to develop our short sea routes to the north, to the west, actually away from the south coast of the UK. That will create much shorter first and last mile deliveries in the UK. And we believe that is one of the reasons why we've seen this 7.2% growth in our volumes with the UK.
Excellent. One of the questions from our colleagues in the audience, do we agree that protective policies in many countries threaten the logistics sector, and will our sector find a way through? I would interpret that as, are these border controls a threat to trade? Are the borders and the political solutions or the political infrastructure, is that an impediment? Will we find a way? Can the logistics sector be a vehicle for that change? Peter?
Yes, I think in the case of these political burdens or customs control at the borders, we can provide solution to the government how to speed up the process, how to arrange the controls on the borders, and cooperate with them to send them the information in advance, in good quality, and it can help. Yeah.
So one of the thoughts that I have had is, will life be simpler for us in the logistics sector once the politicians get out of the way. So, do you think that life will get simpler when the politicians get out of the way? Arne?
Yes. 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 I have stopped. No, not really stopped, but you know very well how it goes. If sensible people sit together and work on solutions and take the rhetoric and the ideology on whichever side out, solutions come. And if we are not discussing solutions with DG Taxud of the European Commission and HMRC, then the world will dictate it for us. Do you think blockchain has long to go? Do you think 3D printing has long to go? The new technologies are coming, right? The border will always stay there. It is now for us to engage actively, respectfully with the logistics sector as a whole. But if we all play our part and we engage with the government of Slovakia, with the government of Germany, with the UK government, with the European Commission, about how we can minimize these protective policies. Because don't forget, the border, if you say that is a protective policy, is there precisely that, to protect all of us. Borders or customs sees what we don't, right? They are a vital part, the last frontier before the bad guys or the good bad stuff enters Europe. So there'll always be a border, but not for us, because we're the good guys. So if we are the good guys, we should go through the border and not be stopped by it. So there are innovative solutions that exist now. In 20 years, 30 years, I do not want to see a customs declaration ever again. I can show you my smartphone, you can scan my code, and that is it, my friend. I don't want any of this paperwork anymore. So, politicians out of the way so we can discuss solutions to make the border go away. Then, free pass to Europe.
That's an interesting concept. Can technology help us knock down the wall that might have been built for these protective policies?
If I can give a very real example that's affecting us all today. So this was my first international visit in 18 months, and booking my flight was actually the easy part. It was everything else, but Peter already said it's about being prepared. If you are prepared, if you have your COVID passport, if you have your transit form, you can hold it on your smartphone. It should be no more than a glance curse at the border point to whether you are jabbed, double jabbed, not jabbed, whatever. The technology is already there at the moment for code, if you are prepared and you get the information to hand. So, as Arne said, the border is there to protect us, but it should not be there to prohibit us. Providing the good guys, the people that are complying, are prepared, then it shouldn't be an issue. And that should be exactly the same situation for declarations and clearances as well.
Okay, so if we're saying as a group, we might be saying as a community as a whole here, that we need to get the politicians out of the way. And we need to be more pragmatic. We need to drive that pragmatism. I would ask you, does the logistics industry lobby hard enough? We have CLACAT in Europe. We have in the UK the British International
Freight
Association, BIFA. Are these groups lobbying hard enough to say to the politicians and to the administrators, enough's enough, we need to facilitate trade, not to put a wall up? Do we as an industry take a proactive enough approach to start that agenda? Justin?
Well, again, I can give you a really good case in point. The answer to that is no, we don't. In the United Kingdom, I mentioned the driver shortage. It is not just because of Brexit that this has happened. It's something that's developed over 10 years or so. The UK haulage industry is represented by a couple of trade associations, one being the Road Haulage Association. they have actually come in for significant criticism from their membership that they have allowed this situation with more drivers leaving the industry than coming to the industry, the lack of services and facilities, wages and working conditions. They've allowed this situation to just run on and on and on until we've actually got to this crisis. So is that particular trade association perhaps lobbying on behalf of its members? I would say not as hard as it should do. So I think the lesson to all trade associations who take their revenues from their memberships is you're there to represent your members, and it is time really for, I think, the trade associations to take that next step up. That's just my opinion.
Well,
Peter, do you see in Central Europe the trade bodies lobbying for less protectionism?
Yes, I think so.
Crazy,
I'm a member of the CLECAT as a representative of Slovak Logistic Forwarders Union, and regularly we do some proposals to the CLECAT in order to discuss it with the European Commission and find a solution how make it more easier or how improve it. But the problem is that the European Commission is not thinking that CLECAT is the most important body in the Europe who can they obey, because logistics is quite broad business, but it's not so wealthy. Yeah? There are many stronger lobbying groups in the Commission who are stronger than the logistics.
So you think we could still do more?
Yeah, we can still do more, but it is not cheap. It is expensive to lobby at such level.
Okay, Arne, what are your thoughts, sir?
Well, again, as I'm German and British, I have two heads, of course, and I represent a trade association with the HMRC's JCCC, which is the Joint Customs Consultative Committee. So
Right.
I am with the decision makers almost daily, because now with Zoom and whatnot, we communicate regularly. And then on the EU side, I speak to DG Taxud in the Trade Contact Group as a representative also very regularly. So the officials are open. They are open to discuss. They are ready to help within the framework of the government's guidance. And you do see good initiatives. There is the HMRC Border Strategy of 2025, which is not long to go now. And then there is the Customs Union 2040. And we were invited to be part of a future development foresight group. So the foresight looks into the future and envisions what could be. So, and this has a lot of representatives. So there are very positive steps and the engagement is there. What I am saying though is something different. What I'm saying though is we as trade association need to outreach to another to facilitate the understanding amongst each other. So a best example I can give is you and me here. Because you have taken time from your business, you have taken time from your business to be here to engage with Eastern Europe and say, we are willing to work with you, we are open, let's get it done together. And it is that collaboration that goes with government, where we press the government for sure. But if we come with a united voice, we take our consolidated message, you go to Brussels, you tell them, and the same message goes to the UK government, then we can attack from both sides and we will win.
Okay.
Divided, we will fall.
As moderator, I'm going to play the devil's advocate again. There is an agreement that our industry should lobby more to establish a smoother platform, a less complicated platform for trade. But in England, there is an expression, turkeys don't vote for Christmas. Now, in our industry, in the forwarding business, we have made a lot of money out of Brexit. So, should our industry, the forwarding industry, the logistics industry, take the longer term view that we will lobby for less obstruction to trade, for less friction, even though it might cost us margin, money income down the road. Is the fact that the logistics business is making more money out of Brexit is it stopping our lobbying, and have our industry got blinkers on because Brexit is good for the forwarding business? Peter?
On one side, Brexit is good for logistics area. We have more demand for the services, more demand for the storages, etc. But on the other hand, our possibilities are limited. We are pushed by the clients to decrease the rates, despite that the market is going in opposite way. So the profitability of this business with Brexit is not so high as someone will expect.
Okay, Arne, has our industry got blinkers on? Are we drunk on the extra revenues of Brexit?
No, but we also need to think ahead. Strategy, right? What's the short, medium, and long-term future of an industry? And now we cash in to a certain extent, but on the cost of who? The businesses sell less to Europe or to the UK, and they are charged more. Is that a winning solution? So, yes, our industry makes more money, but the profit for our clients is reducing. So the only way we will have a sustainable, so now we can smile, but what about in 1 or 2 years? So the only way we can all get out of this well is if we support our customers to grow globally more, to reach their customers faster and to cut the paperwork, to reduce their costs, and to open up new revenue streams, for example, by expanding. So the UK businesses that stopped, as your slide showed, that stopped working with Europe, we need to entice them back. One way to entice them back is for you to tell them, we've got you covered. Don't be scared of the border. We've got you covered. Here is your expert that can help you. Here is the packing agency that can help you. We will get it done together. Then they will say, all right, if they can do Europe, maybe they can do Turkey, maybe they can do the US, maybe I can go and deliver to Australia. Who can I use? Oh, look at this freight forwarder in Slovakia. He helped me with Central Europe. He says he can get access to Ukraine and Russia. Wonderful. So, short-term solution, yeah, we're like, okay, pay more. Long-term strategy, help our customers, our importers, exporters, our businesses grow. We will grow with them. Win-win due to Brexit. Now that's amazing. When have you ever heard win-win and Brexit together?
That is, I think, quite profound. You said win-win, because generally speaking, if you look at the statistics, Brexit has been lose-lose. Lose for the European Union, lose for the United Kingdom. But one of the questions our colleagues in the audience asked us is, there was a mention earlier that we have 4% inflation in the UK last month. I would pose the question that Brexit was very much an emotional political decision. We're now through that political decision, and we're now back to the pragmatic issues of paying the bills every month. So will there be a reappraisal from a British perspective if inflation keeps rising because of fuel costs, because of haulage costs, because of the increased cost of the border? Is inflation and the negative impact in the consumer's pockets, is that going to drive change? Is that going to drive and give our industry momentum to make frictionless borders a reality? Do you think, Justin, that the British consumer, if he's hit with 4% inflation every month, is going to push for change?
Well, I think, firstly, I agree. Brexit was an emotional decision. And you could say because of the closeness of the vote, it was a very close vote. But I also have to say that, that Boris Johnson, who was the British Prime Minister that finally drove Brexit through, received a vote of confidence this week that 47% of the electorate still favour Boris Johnson, which is a pretty strong majority. So whatever people think of him, he's still perceived as being a positive Prime Minister. And I also think, and again this is just very much, I think the European project needs to learn from the Brexit situation. There are lessons to be learnt as well from the EU's perspective. But moving forward, I mean, Brexit isn't a word that we use in our language now in the Port of Antwerp. Brexit has happened, and this is the new Europe. I've already set out that we, as a port, have tried to facilitate frictionless trade, and we will continue to do that. So we'll be visiting the UK later in November, into Scotland, Liverpool, Hull, and into London, again to reach out to the British audience about the benefits of shipping through the Port of Antwerp. So we very much see it as a long-term gain. We are a community builder. We are there to provide the infrastructure and the connectivity and the facilities for our customers to do trade. We are a trade facilitator, and that is a long-term game. So our position on that hasn't changed. Will the British consumer, will they stomach 4% increases? Well, I think, and I mentioned it earlier, I think for so long, parts of the supply chain have been so cheap, and costs have been driven down for so long, that I think we're starting to realise that now, and I think the consumer will have to pay more to get the security of the supply chain. I think with anything, if your costs go up, you don't particularly like it, but I think you have to accept that if you want to have gas in your filling stations and you want to have food on your plate on a regular basis and you don't have to queue for it, something has to change. And I think perhaps certainly in the UK, maybe in Europe, some of the worst creators of that situation have been the big retailers, the supermarkets. They've driven down the prices to remain competitive to the consumers, but ultimately the supply chain has suffered because of that, and I think the consumer is going to have to pay more for a secure and sustainable supply chain.
I think that is spot on, and I'm aware we are into our last few minutes. A provocative question is, if we take Brexit and use the past tense, it's happened. Do you think there will be other countries in the EU 27 that would consider Brexit? Peter?
In my point of view, not, but I am living in Slovakia and I know the region around us. I can't judge how it will be in Finland, for example. So, in my opinion, not. But the experience is not good. It's more or less negative. So, it is not a good example for living in the EU.
Arne?
Not everything is perfect with the European Union, but it's better to be in than out. And I think anybody looking from the outside to Britain sees that with respect. That the fact that we have a single market of 400 million consumers, potential customers, is just a huge prize. And if the EU membership would be so bad, why on earth would Germany be still in it? Now, having said that, easy answers to complex problems attract a lot of people. So we will see what happens in France next year with the elections. But you know as well as I do, when somebody promises you an easy solution to a complicated problem, I would be skeptical. I would not fall for it. I think all of these points that you mentioned about the Brexit vote are easy answers to rather complex problems. And I'm glad I'm in Bratislava,
You're welcome.
and I'm glad that you guys are part of the European Union.
Thank you.
Justin.
So from someone that is not part of the European Union any longer, I made the point earlier, I think the EU needs to learn its lessons as well. I heard when I arrived here on Wednesday that Poland are actually challenging the legitimacy of European law over Polish law. So there is another example of some disagreements with the EU. But I certainly think from a trade perspective, the UK is probably in a worse position than it was. And I think if we could have worked our way through the other issues, then the vote would have been very much more different. And just before you hang this conference up, if I could just make a sales pitch to the audience, again, I've reinforced about our role as a community builder. On the 9th of November, in the Port of Antwerp, we're holding an intermodal marketplace where we're inviting shippers and freight forwarders to come along and to meet our port community and to talk about the work that we've been doing with regards to barge, road, rail and short sea. It's a free-to-attend event, and if you want any more details, ask me or one of the team that is in the audience. Sorry for the crude pitch, but I wanted to get it in there. Thank you.
Okay, we are out of time. I think this discussion could have continued for a lot longer, and I think the comment made a moment ago about beware of simple solutions to complex problems is a very good summary. Before some concluding remarks from me, gentlemen, any concluding remarks? Peter?
It is a nice possibility to meet all of you here and hear that you are willing to cooperate. It is a nice and positive message for the future. Thank you.
Arne, sir.
Well, as I've said already, it's a pleasure to be in Bratislava, and I commend also the World of Freight for holding this event here and for Bratislava for being so open and willing to have us. I think you did a great job with hosting us and having us and letting us in despite our decision to leave the European Union. We're still in Europe, and we will stay in Europe. Amen.
Justin, any concluding remarks, sir?
Sure. Yeah. Just really to conclude, to agree with the same comments. First visit to Slovakia, first visit to Bratislava. Beautiful city, very friendly people, clearly a lot of potential, and a very important customer for the Port of Antwerp.
Okay. From my perspective, I think that the two words that I will take away is trade facilitator. We have to be, as an industry, a facilitator for trade. And I would hope that our industry would take the long view, that as logistics providers, we don't look collectively for the quick buck, but we look after our customers and the shipping community, because a healthy, prosperous shipping community with frictionless borders is good for all of us. And I would thank the audience for their rapt attention and their very cogent questions. I would thank my colleagues, and let's all go out there, guys, and be trade facilitators, and let's be that agency for change positively. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.